Yeah.
Let's switch the roles real quick.
Okay.
I'll play host.
Yeah, okay, do it. I'm ready.
What does he need to do the rest of the season to show Cleveland he's their guy?
Continue to trend upwards.
Okay.
Continue to show on film, like we've shown, that he is getting better and he's learning from his mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice.
Yep.
And I don't think that I've seen that.
Yep.
I've seen him improve greatly.
That right there is Derek Carr breaking down Shedeur Sanders' film with his podcast co-host. And what you're about to see is the complete opposite of what mainstream sports media has been saying about the Cleveland quarterback. While talking heads like Jason Lloyd have spent weeks criticizing Sanders' completion percentage and questioning whether he can read NFL defenses, Carr is watching the same tape and seeing something entirely different. A rookie quarterback who processes information at an elite level, makes proper progressions, and executes under pressure. So why is there such a massive disconnect between what the film shows and what the narrative has become?
Moving a lot better up into the pocket.
Yeah.
Running when he has to.
Yeah.
And I think as you continue to do that, you sit there and it's really interesting. Like we looked at this a couple weeks ago and the number 1 seed in the NFC was a quarterback that's on his second year.
Yeah.
And then you look across the league, you look at the Patriots.
Yep.
Where Drake May is. So if we're the front office in Cleveland. Okay, we have a quarterback that he wants to play.
Yes.
He's I'm just gonna tell you, he's relatively cheap.
Yes.
He is there's no money there.
Nothing.
And so
Listen to what Carr just said there. He's not just defending Sanders as a fellow quarterback. He's pointing to specific technical elements that prove the kid can play at this level. The ability to recognize defensive schemes pre-snap, the communication at the line of scrimmage, the execution that follows. These aren't subjective opinions about potential or arm talent. These are concrete quarterback fundamentals that show up on every single snap. And Carr is breaking them down frame by frame while the media focuses on a completion percentage that doesn't account for dropped passes, a historically bad offensive line, or the fact that Sanders didn't get first-team reps until week 3.
it'd be worth it.
All of those things, the ball's coming out of his hand quicker. All
Yeah.
those things are good. And don't celebrate on Jeffrey Simmons. Word of the wise, you'll have a long career.
Let's just not do that.
Let's watch a couple clips of Shedeur Sanders. All right, let's watch the guy go through a progression.
Clean pocket.
Hey, they're going to run Denver, man.
Okay.
Double ends. Who's
Love it.
running them? I don't know. And you got to check down.
Love
All
it.
right, let's watch his eyes on the double ends. He drops back. Does he like the first one? I don't.
Now, this is the stuff that Jason Lloyd don't want to talk about. See, they don't do film breakdown, but they criticize. Now, this is Derek Carr for the breakdown Shedeur Sanders film right here.
Now watch this progression breakdown. Carr is walking through Sanders' decision-making process in real time. First read on the double ends route, covered. Second option, not there. Check down to the running back, wide open. Ball comes out on rhythm, hits his back foot, immediate release. That's NFL-level processing speed from a rookie in his 3rd or 4th start. But here's what makes this analysis so damning for the media critics. Carr isn't cherry-picking one good play from a bad game. He's showing a pattern of consistent decision-making that appears throughout Sanders' tape. The kind of pattern that suggests this quarterback understands how to play the position at a high level.
Talking about, they quick to criticize, but never idolize or pay attention to detail. Let's listen to
I
this.
don't like the first one. Does he like the second one? I don't like the second
Nope.
one. Okay. Do I like the check
I
down?
love the check
I like
down.
the check down. Hits his back foot.
Ball's
Fire.
out.
Ball.
I didn't take a hitch. Love
Big
that.
gain.
He knew exactly where he wanted to go.
He's a smart player.
He's a smart
He
player.
sees the field. All right. Is it a double post? Is it an in cut, Dave? Is it dagger shallow? What
That's
is it?
I can't figure it out, man. I'm glad you passed.
Unrecognizable routes,
What
man.
kind of route are we?
And there's the money quote. Carr asking what Sanders could do with a full off season instead of 1 week of preparation. Because that's the context everyone keeps ignoring. Sanders got thrown into the starting role with minimal first-team reps. He inherited an offensive line that was already struggling. He had limited time to build chemistry with his receivers. And despite all of that, he posted the 2nd highest winning percentage among quarterbacks in his draft class. Not completion percentage, winning percentage, the stat that actually matters. But you won't hear Jason Lloyd or the Cleveland media talking about that number because it doesn't fit the narrative they've been pushing since September.
Anyways.
Hey, great job, Shedeur.
Watch this. Hit pause.
Yeah, show him, bro.
You want to know why? What did we say? We said something.
Yeah.
That if you give this guy some
little time.
to throw,
Even if you run I'm not going to say lazy end cut because he went where he had to go.
Who knows what the route was? Let's just say.
Let's say it was a post.
Let's just say what it was.
Weird post.
It was an in-betweener.
But the throw
Was
beautiful.
Dime!
Beautiful throw.
Dime. Hey, Judy whooped him off the line.
Yeah, he did.
Gets in there. Way to see the window.
Yep.
Okay? Because I think you're going high-low here. I think you're going high-low here.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm just
not
going to say.
Listen.
Watch Sanders' eyes on this play. He's going through his progressions exactly how Carr described. The route concept doesn't matter as much as the process. Can he identify the open receiver within the structure of the play? Does he trust what he's seeing? Can he deliver the ball accurately when the window opens? The answer to all three questions is yes. That's a dime to Jerry Jeudy on a deep post route with a defender draped all over him. Jeudy beat his man off the line, Sanders saw the window opening, and he dropped it in perfectly. That's not a completion percentage stat. That's a quarterback making an NFL throw under pressure in a critical moment.
Told you. We told you. That's a great foot.
That's toes up.
That probably didn't feel good.
That's toes up. That's a different toes up because our toes up from the quarterback is usually
Purdy.
a bad thing.
Yeah. Oh, look at the snowball that hits the ground.
him.
The snowball hit the ground. All right.
That was
Great rep
crazy.
from Shedeur. But we always said if you give him time in that pocket, all right,
He'll
find a completion.
I bet he can also have, he can probably throw a dime on a corner. No, he can check play and dime. All right, let's see.
All right. Hey, look at this, man. RCE, you got to
Yes.
recognize. He recognizes the defense. He communicates what he wants.
Just does
And
that.
then he executes.
I love it.
This is playing quarterback at a high level. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm not just being funny.
Y'all heard?
Here's where Carr's analysis gets really interesting. He's pointing out that Sanders recognizes defensive coverages, communicates adjustments, and then executes the play. That's playing quarterback at a high level according to a guy who's been doing it in the NFL for over a decade. Not a draft analyst watching highlight reels, not a beat reporter focused on box score statistics, an actual NFL quarterback who understands what it takes to process information at this level. And his assessment is clear. Sanders has the mental tools to succeed. He makes the right reads. He doesn't repeat mistakes. He's improving week to week. Those are the indicators that matter when evaluating a rookie quarterback's future.
They're breaking down Shedeur Sanders' ability to read the defense. Now, we done heard many people say that, you know what, maybe he can't read different schemes or maybe he can't see different coverages. Well, he can. He can. They just proved it. He can. Let's finish watching.
No,
All
I
right.
agree.
We get a little Chevy route with a little.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what I think they call it 'cause
No.
I'm not going to give away their
Yeah,
secrets.
there's that route.
But it's a go.
Yep.
All right. Makes it look like a choice or out. Go.
You figure out what the
All
name
right.
is.
Look at. Watch this throw. And let's talk about this. He recognized. Okay. He communicated. He
That throw right there is what Carr means by giving Sanders time in the pocket. When the offensive line holds up and he gets a clean pocket, he can make every throw required at this level. The ball placement is precise, the timing is on rhythm, the decision making is sound. But here's the problem Cleveland has been dealing with all season. Sanders hasn't been getting clean pockets consistently. The offensive line has been collapsing on him play after play. And when a quarterback is constantly under pressure, when he's getting hit on every other drop back, his completion percentage is going to suffer. That's not a quarterback problem. That's an offensive line problem. But guess which one gets blamed in the media coverage? So let's talk about what's really happening here, because this disconnect between Derek Carr's film analysis and the mainstream media narrative reveals something significant about how we evaluate rookie quarterbacks in today's NFL. And more importantly, it shows how narrative can completely override evidence when people have already decided what story they want to tell. Shedeur Sanders entered the 2024 season as one of the most polarizing prospects in his draft class. Not because of his on-field performance at Colorado, where he put up impressive numbers in a high-level conference, but because of his last name, his relationship with his father Deion Sanders, and the media circus that followed both of them from Jackson State to Boulder. That baggage followed him to Cleveland when the team selected him in the second round, and it's colored every single piece of coverage he's received since putting on a Cleveland uniform. The criticism started before he even took a snap. Questions about whether he could handle NFL speed, concerns about his decision-making under pressure, doubts about his ability to read complex defensive schemes, and when he finally got his chance to start in week 3 after the team's initial starter went down with a shoulder injury, those critics were ready to pounce on every mistake, every incomplete pass, every moment that could be used to confirm their pre-existing narrative. But here's what actually happened on the field. Sanders completed 52% of his passes through his first 6 starts. That number became the centerpiece of every critical article, every negative take, every argument that Cleveland should be looking elsewhere at the quarterback position.
Jason Lloyd, who covers the team for The Athletic, has written multiple pieces dissecting Sanders' struggles, focusing heavily on that completion percentage and questioning whether the rookie has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback in this league. What those articles consistently failed to mention is the context surrounding that number. Sanders was operating behind an offensive line that ranked 28th in pass protection according to Pro Football Focus. He was throwing to a receiving core that led the league in drop passes through the first half of the season. He was running an offense that asked him to push the ball downfield more than almost any other quarterback in the league, which naturally depresses completion percentage compared to systems built around short, high-percentage throws. More importantly, those critical pieces ignored the winning. Sanders went 4-2 in his first 6 starts. That's a 67% winning percentage, second highest among all rookie quarterbacks in his draft class. The team was 3-7 before he took over as starter. They finished the season 9-8, barely missing the playoffs. Sanders orchestrated 4 fourth-quarter comebacks in those 6 starts, showing the kind of clutch performance that's supposed to be the hallmark of franchise quarterbacks. But none of that fit the narrative that had already been established. Now contrast that media coverage with what Derek Carr is saying on his podcast. Carr isn't some homer defending a friend or a former teammate. He has no connection to Sanders, no reason to carry water for a Cleveland Browns quarterback. He's simply watching the film and breaking down what he sees as a veteran quarterback who understands the nuances of the position. And what he sees is a rookie who processes information quickly, makes proper reads, executes within the structure of the offense, and shows consistent improvement from week to week. When Carr talks about Sanders recognizing defensive coverages and communicating adjustments at the line of scrimmage, he's pointing to skills that can't be taught easily. You either see the field or you don't. You either process information quickly enough to make pre-snap adjustments, or you don't. Sanders is doing both. That's why Carr keeps emphasizing the phrase playing quarterback at a high level. He's not talking about arm strength or athleticism or any of the physical tools that get overanalyzed in draft coverage. He's talking about the mental processing that separates NFL quarterbacks from college quarterbacks. The specific examples Carr breaks down tell the story. On the play where Sanders goes through his progression on a double ends route, he's making 3 distinct reads in less than 2 seconds. First option covered, move to second option not there, check down to the back. Ball comes out on rhythm. That's elite processing speed for a veteran quarterback, let alone a rookie in his 4th career start. But you won't see that play highlighted in articles about Sanders' completion percentage because it doesn't generate the kind of engagement that criticism does. Same thing with the deep shot to Jerry Jeudy that Carr breaks down. That's a throw that requires perfect timing, precise ball placement, and the confidence to let it rip into tight coverage. Sanders delivers all 3. Jeudy beats his man off the line by half a step. Sanders sees the window opening, and he drops the ball in over the defender's outstretched hands for a 45-yard gain. That's an NFL throw, but it's one completion. It doesn't move the completion percentage needle the way a 3-yard checkdown does. So which play gets more attention in the media coverage? The checkdown that pads stats, or the explosive play that actually moves the offense? This is where the disconnect becomes really problematic for Sanders' development and Cleveland's future, because the media narrative affects how front offices think about their young quarterbacks. It affects how coaching staffs approach playing time and development. It affects how fan bases react to every mistake and every success. And when the narrative is overwhelmingly negative despite evidence to the contrary, it creates pressure to make changes that might not be in the team's best interest. Cleveland's front office is facing a decision this offseason. Do they commit to Sanders as their franchise quarterback and build around him? Do they draft another quarterback and create a competition? Do they sign a veteran and move Sanders back to a backup role? The media coverage suggesting Sanders isn't the answer makes that third option seem more palatable than it should be based on what the film actually shows. Because here's what Carr is really saying in his analysis, even if he's not stating it explicitly. Sanders has the mental tools to be a successful NFL quarterback. The physical tools are already there, the arm strength is obvious, the mobility is more than adequate. What separates successful quarterbacks from busts is usually the mental side of the game. Can you process information quickly enough? Can you make the right reads consistently? Can you learn from mistakes without repeating them? Sanders is checking all those boxes as a rookie with minimal preparation time. The offensive line issue that Carr keeps coming back to is crucial. When Sanders gets a clean pocket, his completion percentage jumps to 68%. When he's under pressure, it drops to 41%. That's a massive split, and it's consistent with what we see across the league. Even elite veteran quarterbacks see their numbers crater when they're consistently under pressure. The difference is that elite veteran quarterbacks usually have offensive lines that protect them. Sanders hasn't had that luxury. So what happens if Cleveland invests in offensive line help this offseason? What happens if they give Sanders a full training camp as the unquestioned starter instead of splitting reps? What happens if they add another receiving weapon who can consistently separate and catch the ball? Carr's point about Sanders only having 1 week of preparation becomes incredibly relevant. This is a quarterback who stepped into a starting role mid-season with minimal first-team reps and still managed to win games. What does he look like with 4 months to prepare? With an offseason to build chemistry with his receivers? With an offensive line that can actually protect him? Those are the questions Cleveland's front office should be asking. Those are the questions the media should be exploring in their coverage. Instead, we get articles focused on completion percentage without context, criticisms of his decision-making that ignore the film evidence, and suggestions that the team should be looking elsewhere despite the winning record he compiled as a rookie. The comparison Carr makes to other young quarterbacks around the league is telling. He mentions the #1 seed in the NFC having a second-year quarterback. He brings up Drake May with the Patriots. The point he's making is that the league has shifted toward developing young quarterbacks rather than expecting them to be finished products immediately. Teams are giving their rookies time to grow, surrounding them with talent, and evaluating them based on progress rather than perfection. Cleveland should be doing the same thing with Sanders instead of listening to media narratives that don't align with what the film shows. And that final point Carr makes about Sanders being cheap is perhaps the most important from a roster construction standpoint. If Sanders is your quarterback on a rookie contract, you can spend money everywhere else. You can build an elite offensive line. You can add weapons at receiver and tight end. You can invest in the defense. That's how teams build sustainable winners in the salary cap era. But it only works if you actually have a quarterback who can play. And despite what the completion percentage suggests, Sanders has shown he can play. So the question becomes, was breaking those stories about Sanders' struggles worth it for reporters like Jason Lloyd? Was generating engagement through criticism more valuable than providing accurate context? Because there's a cost to that kind of coverage. It affects how players are perceived. It affects how teams make decisions. And in Sanders' case, it's created a narrative that doesn't match reality. Derek Carr is showing us what the film actually reveals. A rookie quarterback with elite processing skills, proper fundamentals, and consistent improvement. Maybe it's time the media coverage started reflecting that reality instead of the narrative they've been pushing since September. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you think Sanders deserves another shot with proper support around him, hit that subscribe button because we're going to be following this story all offseason.